Kosher Wine Podcast with Dr. Kenny Friedman and Rabbi Yisroel Bernath.
Hello, Kenny. So good to be back.
Great to see you.
So good to see you. We have a special guest today.
I can see.
This is
I came on here and there were two beards here instead of one, so I figured, and two rabbis. Why don't you introduce our special guest?
Do you feel that there's too much beard in the room right now?
No, I'm used to being the least knowledgeable guy in the room, so it's just another example of it.
You're so humble.
Yes,
So we are very honored to have with us Rabbi Michoel Gershzon. He is an aficionado, an importer, and I would say for the English-speaking community, the most knowledgeable on the proliferation of kosher Georgian wine. And one of the examples that you and I always give for how proliferated the kosher wine has become is Georgia, and not the state, the country. And I've learned a lot about Georgian wine from him in our many conversations, and I'm really excited to take some of those conversations and bring them online for you to be able to learn, and for our viewers and listeners to be able to learn. So, Michoel, welcome to the Kosher Wine Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's also a big honor for me because you know what? I was always like I would put like a unprofessional guy, like it's a habits and this. And there I feel like to be in the shadow of such a two giants in the kosher wine. So like it's a big honor for me. Thank you.
So, Michoel, I want to start from the beginning. We have just noticed a lot of people that are knowledgeable in the wine world and kosher wine world have noticed all of a sudden Georgian wine has just kind of popped up on the market. And I know that you're very involved with it. Give us an idea. I'd love to start from the beginning. What makes Georgian wine special?
See, I would say it without exaggeration, it's make it special. So probably one of the first wine which is it made through ages to us. Let's put it this way.
Explain yourself.
And if anyone saw the flyer from BAM Spirit, that's our company, for the Georgian wine, we're calling it Noach's wines because geographically it's really close. And it's really about the process, how the Georgian wine made. It's similar what described in the Gemara and the Talmud. So that's the process of previous ages was made. It's significantly differentiate from the French way of making wine. It's a way more modern and different way of making wine. And for example, the people with whom I'm working with now we're bringing different factories, existing factories, but the BAM Spirit looking forward to open our own line. And the people with whom I'm in contact is a Georgian family who has written with the scripts tradition for 3,500 years for their family. Like it's not somewhere archaeological. They family has a recipes and has a tradition of growing and making wine like for 3,500 years, which is like amazing. And I could speak with this person like with you understand? It's not some like a museum or anything. It's a family who is today, they're actually producing, unfortunately, non-kosher wine meanwhile, but they supplying some fancy restaurants in London with that wine because it's becoming very, very popular Georgian wine.
So Georgian wine, from what I understand, there's a couple of things that are unique about it. Number one is it's stored in clay.
It's not just stored; it's made in huge clay vessels. They called kvevri. It's an absolutely different way of doing so. They're crushing grape, and they're not separating it. So they're crushing grape, and everything goes into the clay. And this clay, it's usually 2,000, 2,500 liters. And it's totally buried in earth. And the place where is it stored, it's called Marani. It's sort of like a shed, but the importance of it is the floor, because they putting like usually from 10 and more kvevris, vessels, they burying it in the earth, and the floor they doing from the gravel, which you could find only in the mountains in the area, and they're using it as antibacterial. So basically it kills all bacteria besides what's sitting on the grape, and that making the wine perfect. And the whole floor in that Marani made out of this gravel. They're putting it later on. So, and they putting it everything as it is in the vessel, in the kvevri, and there for 2 weeks, if you will see that, you will be amazed. It looks like it's staying on the fire because it's literally boiling. What's going on? Like, and then you have a wood stick you need to steer it during the 2 weeks, and then they all, it's all based on traditions. And when the person sees it's in the good condition, then they deciding to seal it, and they sealing it for the 6 months. After 6 months, they emptying it out and sifting it. So then they put the wine for another 5 months in a different kvevri, different vessel, same volume, like huge one buried in the earth. But what all this left, they're not throwing it out. They're making famous cha-cha. Yeah? Like it's
grappa.
It's a grappa. It's not exactly grappa. It's a little bit different because cha-cha, they basically doing second fermentation from all what is left, and only then they putting it through the process and making it alcohol. And cha-cha could be 70% of alcohol. That's the good quality cha-cha. It's easy, could be 70% of alcohol. It's very strong and very deceiving drink. I could tell you from experience. You're sitting, it's nice. It has a sort of like specific smell. It's pleasant. And like you're not paying attention when you're standing on your feet and all room start running around of you, like, and what you did, just a few cups, like, and everything was nice and pleasant, and you talking in the good food, and then you find yourself unable to walk. That's the cha-cha. So, and then you put it on another 5 months, talking about wine, and then it's ready after 11 months. It's ready to drink.
So it never touches oak.
I gave you Mukuzani, remember, yeah?
Yes.
So all the wines there go mostly by name of the villages. That village has a tradition to keep, after it's already made, to keep the wine in oak casks, which is giving different character and different taste to the wine. That's the Mukuzani. That's the only wine I know in Georgia, which is got stored in wood, in oak barrels, and that's the only one. But usually it's all in the clay.
Wow,
it's an interesting thing that the archaeologists found pieces of clays over 4,000 years old, and they saw layers. So it's amazing. They doing like vessel inside vessel, and nobody knows today how that technology-wise you could do that. And it's very interesting because for the processing and keeping the wine, it's very important. 2 different clays used for inside and for outside. And it's amazing. Today, no one does that type of kvevri, that type of vessels. They just found the old ones used to be different clay from outside and inside, and it's a one vessel, one piece. It's just basically layers.
Let me ask you a question. Something I saw recently, because I have been reading a lot about Georgian wines, and something I saw and I want to know if you saw this, that the winemakers, they gauge the level of fermentation by putting an open match over the kvevery and knowing that because if there's still a lot of CO2 coming from the fermentation, the match will blow out. Once it stops blowing out, they know it's ready to seal up. Have you seen that done, or is that super traditional? That's not done typically anymore.
It doesn't sound to me as a traditional. I'm very sorry. Can you what basically they doing? I'm just not catching.
They're putting a match.
The reason they're doing is they light a match over it because if in any fermentation, it's releasing a lot of gas, and the CO2 gas will blow the match out. Once the match doesn't blow out, they know that it's done a certain level of fermentation. You've never seen it.
I didn't see that. It could be, but see, the only step-by-step process, what I'm familiar with this family, they have a big grapes, fields, and the winery in the Grammy. Grammy, it's a very interesting place. It's used to be capital of Georgia when it was a war with the Turkish and so they do everything for their, in English, tviat ein. They know how things has to look right.
Right.
Maybe people who has a less tradition, less experience, they had all types of gimmicks and tricks how to help themselves. A good winemaker in Georgia is it mean person who have a generations back, and his eye, it's something like that was one of our arguing over making kosher wine in the kvevery. He wants to be there. I said it's impossible. Then it's not going to be kosher wine. And we spoke about putting their HD camera for him because it's something. We spoke with him. He said, I can't explain it to you. I need to see it.
Right. Well, I mean, anyone that's seen a bubby cook in a kitchen, that's how they do it. They're not following recipes. They know the amounts. They know what it's supposed to look like. It makes sense. Can you talk about first of all, how many Jews are nowadays in Georgia?
Oh, I'm a very bad person in a statistic generally, but I should tell you, it's leftover because
it's like 1,000 or something, right?
As soon as the perestroika started, right, the Georgian Jews was the first one who flooded to Israel. And then later on, when Soviet Union fell apart, it was a war there. And anyone who left, they went to Moscow. You should understand, you probably heard about Tzaddik of Peterburg, the people calling them it's Rabbi Izzy Kogan. His shul became a Georgian shul, because he was also the shochet, and they all came from Georgia. They all eating only kosher meat. So they found the Chabad rabbi who could shech them shepselach. And it's few times had a interesting story ending up with the police and with the articles on the Central TV in Moscow, because his synagogue is in the heart of Moscow. And then neighbors complained they heard a lamb whining over the night.
Oh my gosh.
This is you're talking about in the 1990s, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about beginning in 1991. That's the 1990. So I don't know who left. And they're also, you should understand, Georgian Jews, they're very traditional. They're very, very traditional. It's today, we're living in the modern world, but back then, for them, somebody who is not eating kosher, it was nonsense, absolute nonsense. And I hope it's the problem. I want to share with you, I want to speak about different areas. And one of the areas
you also mentioned to me, which I thought was fascinating, is that Georgia has a real tradition that it was very pro-Jewish, even through the most difficult ages, that it was always a pro-Jewish country.
Yes.
I don't want to say anti-Semitism. Doesn't make any sense.
No. It's not exist in Georgia. You should understand. It's a something which is that never exist. Okay? So the story what I heard, I don't know how to, like said, the most, how Jews end up in Georgia, that the Nebuchadnezzar gave a slave to Georgian queen. And the second they step on the Georgian soil, she set them free, all of them. And we're talking about thousands of years, and it's always was like, like you're not gonna find anything. And even to make it more, like a few years ago, somebody from my Chabad house went to Georgia. He told me a very funny story. He was said a number of 2,500 years or like 3,000 years together. Something was like 1,000 years together. It was a huge sign in a Tbilisi airport. And he asked, with Israeli passport, he asked the guy and the customs, who's together? He said, with whom together? And then the custom guy officer said to him, laugh, and said to him, with you. Like, you understand? They celebrated some date, like how long Jews in Georgia, and it was like all over the city. In the airport was a huge sign that they're celebrating thousands of years together with Jews. So you could understand this country, and anti-Semitism is like, it's something not miraculously, Jews live there. You could see also that's probably influence of that. You could see all the Sidurim and books, they in Georgian. If you ever see a Georgian Jew praying, I don't know, I saw it in Moscow, and I don't know how in Israel, probably everybody knows the Hebrew, but they reading Georgian. He's saying Kaddish, he's saying like all types of prayers, Shema. You look his book, is all Georgian.
Wow.
So just as like a little history thing, Soviets took over Ukraine in 1921, I think. They were there for 70 years. And that actually, I think, in a lot of ways, destroyed a lot of like the Georgian, not a kosher thing, the Georgian winemaking for a long time.
No, you have like, it's not exact story with Georgia. I was about to say opposite story, okay?
Okay.
I hope I will have a chance to speak about the areas, like a French made it like fancy appellations.
Right.
It exists in Georgia, it exists. Each area has his own wine, and it's very different, okay? So one of the places, it was a center of Jewish life, Kutaisi. Today, I don't know how many Jews there. And to let you understand, first of all these, like, they're like Asian republics like Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Soviets wasn't strong there. And also Georgia and Armenia, I could tell you from my personal experience, my father, when he went first time to Armenia, he came back like in a shock. He said to us, listen, there's no Soviet Union there. You have servants, you have masters. Like he said, what's going on? He was in Yerevan, like capital of Armenia. Georgia, it was even more. And one of the biggest examples, what in Chabad we know, Kutaisi, why it was famous as a Jewish community, because all Chabad people in Russia, in Petersburg, in Moscow, used to go to Kutaisi to take a wheat for the Shmura Matzah. Why? Because in Kutaisi, in official kolkhoz, they had a fields designated for Pesach, like was with all like a super dosim, like a super orthodox, like Shmura Matzah was a fields. You understand? It was a nonsense in Soviet Union. When somebody told me that, and we're talking about 71, 72, it's like before I was born. Yeah, that's when the whole Chabad guys from Moscow and Petersburg went to Kutaisi for matzah, because they have a fields of Shmura Matzah by toughest like Orthodox law. See, these republics, to compare them with Russia, Ukraine, it's wrong. It was different life. It was different life. It was like because they saw, it's I don't want to say Middle East, but it's pre-Middle East. It's Kafkas and its own. And everybody, including the Russian Tsar, and Soviets post, they understood this is not area where you could do whatever you want and implement all your rules. You have to leave them alone on a certain extent. And what you mentioned probably with the distractions of the unique grapes, It's Crimea. Because when the Gorbachev came with the perestroika, he decided to make sober all Soviet Union, which is a mission impossible. And the greatest idea came up to his head is to destroy the wineries. And no, I'm telling you, in Crimea, it was like some people who was owners, like it wasn't owners there, they was in charge from the government on the growing grapes, and in the wineries they commit suicides because a unique types which had a unique how to say creamy, it's a very unique area for the wine, we're not talking about this, got destroyed, but it wasn't in Georgia. Everything is untouched as it was. That's the uniqueness of the Georgia as it was few thousand years ago. People have there some grapes like wines which is 1,000 years old.
Right. So what I've read is that Georgia is very well known for having, it's not a big country, for having some of the most, the widest array of what's called indigenous grapes that are from that
Exactly.
land.
Yes.
They say 500 that are still there. So even if things somehow like got lost over the years, there's still 500 indigenous grapes from Georgia, which is unbelievable. But what I read was that during the Soviet rule in 1921 to 1991, it's because I think I don't remember what I said, and you can tell me, the Russian Tsar, whoever, wanted mass-produced, because it was Soviet, they wanted just mass-produced. That's why Saperavi became so famous. I'm asking you all this also because I happen to be writing something. I'm sure this is all very good information to me. I'm going to have to play this back and write it all down.
See, I'm ready also after that for your phone call or whatever. So, but see, with the type of the grapes, Saperavi became famous, probably, it's my guess, because it's a Kakheti. Kakheti is the area. Comparing with the French, it's appellation. Kakheti is where is it? Tbilisi, a capital of Georgia. So, first of all, it's the largest by the amount of territory, a largest area, largest appellation, and also it's very conveniently connected to Tbilisi, which is its capital. So and also many wines which was known in Soviet Union, and they was from Kakhetia. For example, like Saperavi, it's a red wine, yes. So, but the Kutaisi area, it's Adjaria, what I was saying, and there it's a different. It's called Ojaleshi. It's also beautiful red wine. And Kakheti, white grapes, it's Ricacitelli. But near Kutaisi, Adjaria, they have a Sisi and Tsilakauri. And Tsilakauri we brought here.
Tsilakauri,
Yes,
that 21 of Tsilakauri was amazing.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. And I'm not a big white wine drinker.
And not just this, in Georgia also you have, it's called amber wine. Here they're calling it rosé, orange. No, the original Georgian amber wine, I'm telling you, it's delish beyond. We hopefully will do that. What they do.
One of them, I had it. I served it at an event.
No. See, to make a real amber wine, it's not by mixing like many modern factories do. To make a real Georgian amber wine, you need to have an empty kvevri, empty vessel from Saperavi or Jaleshi, from the red wine, okay, which is that you just empty out. You ferment it, you white wine for the 6 months in the kvevri, and then to keep it other 5 months, when you filter it, you're putting it in the kvevri which just was emptied from the red wine. And then the redness from the walls, because it's a clay, it's taking in, give a unique color and unique taste, which is that you cannot replicate because it's all natural, you understand?
So you're saying, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I thought that it was
called amber. In Russian, it's called янтарное вино, amber wine. It's amazing.
But it's not orange, same reason the orange wines that are made elsewhere, because they leave the skins in there to ferment?
No. It's absolutely different.
Interesting.
As I said, yes, a Georgian wine, it's a different animal. I want you to ask Rabbi Yisroel how skeptic he was to semi-sweet, and what was his reaction when he tasted Kinsbarauli.
Okay, this
Kinsbarauli is the
Kinsmar
name of the village.
I want to hear the story.
Is that Penny? Have you had this Kinsmar Uli?
Yes.
So he brought me this Kinsmar Uli, and I'm like, I don't drink Rashi. I'm sorry, like I don't drink sweet wine. I mean, the Kesser or the Rashi. I'm happy for everybody who makes Kiddush on this stuff. We have. I just can't. I can't. And so he opens it up in my house, and he's like, you have to try it. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll try it. And I was amazed. And I was also amazed with the Kafkazi Jews and how expensive this bottle is. It's not a $10 bottle of wine or a $5 bottle of wine. So what is the process? You said it's a different animal, but I don't remember what the process is of how they get that.
So Kinsmarauli again, like a Mekuzani Kinsmarauli, it's a name of the village. And their tradition was in the middle of processing to suddenly cool off the wine, which is it kills all bacteria and microbes, and they basically stop eating sugar and producing alcohol. And naturally, a grape juice, unprocessed, it's left there, but it's naturally mixed. You understand? And it's deep fermented. That's why it's not going bad. And it has such a bouquet, such a unique taste, because we all know how semi-sweet wine made. You're taking grape juice from the same grape, making a syrup, adding, and it's already, I'm sorry, garbage. It's not a wine already. Yes. Here, it's opposite. It's a unique technology. It's harder to make. It's more work need to be done. Therefore, Georgian semi-sweets, they naturally way more expensive when the dry wine, because it's not French grape, it's not French process. So it's a different animal, and it's different rules, and then different outcome.
Something that's interesting about the Saperavi grape is that it's called Tanturier. It's a red flesh inside, by the way, which is not a lot of examples in the kosher world of that kind of grape. So I always like to point that out. It's also why the wine is very dark.
God willing, Bizrat Hashem, we will bring Ojaleshi. It's the Kutaisi Ajare area red grape. It's a similar. It's a bit even stronger than Saperavi.
You've noticed that I haven't really pronounced anything because I'm afraid of sounding like a dummy in front of you. Because I don't even know the word. What did you just say? What are you bringing?
Ojaleshi.
Ojaleshi.
I'm happy you're here just to pronounce these wines. Like I finally got down like the Mukuzani, because I've been presenting it quite a bit. I love it a lot. And I think, and now I understand from what you said that it's the most similar to a French wine because it's stored in oak, which is interesting. And I definitely, I could taste that. So I'm always worried about the Kinsmer Uli or the Tzilaka Uri. I've had to work very hard.
See, in the way of joke, I would say if you want to transfer the person from French wine to Georgian, Mukuzani, it's a good starter. It's a good intermediate one.
Yeah.
But like for me, I more enjoy a clean, I would say pure Saperavi, and their Kinsmarauli can't drink a lot because it's pretty heavy. Yes, it sounds light when you're taking it in, but if you're doing like few gulps, like few sips, you could feel it's heavy. Yeah, like it's there, and it's beauty of it. You know, like it's making it, and the bouquet, the aroma, it has like from like different fruits, it's berries. It's an amazing, and you remember we had on a table when I give it to taste in your house. The guy who was French, he got a little bit offended from all of my speeches for the Georgian wine. And when he tested Kinsmarauli, what he said, he was like, "Wow."
Yeah, he was amazed, and I was also amazed with somebody who I know that is from the former Soviet Union. When they saw that Kinsmarauli, and they said, "Since I started drinking kosher wine, I never imagined that I would ever be able to have Kinsmer Uli, and they were like really like, wow, this is a prized possession. So I could see the emotional attachment to these wines, and that was really, really, really special. I love to see the passion and the excitement that people have towards wine, and she was like, wow, I can't believe this is kosher.
Yeah, because also you have to remember during the Soviet Union was nothing from outside, and like in let's say in somewhere like let's say in Moscow between the people who was like professors, musicians, high like work, was the best present is to bring to person bottle of Armenian cognac or Kinsmarauli or Khvanchkara. Khvanchkara is the village in Kachetia in Georgia. Khvanchkara, it's Sapravi, but this wine called Khvanchkara. Why? Because it's come from this village, and this is attachment for her. It was like, it was in Soviet Union, it was an elite. You want to become fancy, like it's there. You're bringing bottle of Kinsmarauli.
Wow.
So just to go back to the Ogeleshi wine, that is it's also a Teinturier, the red flesh inside, right?
Yes,
that's going to be
made.
Georgia.
It's a Georgia.
That's coming also kosher.
We're working on it.
That's
hard.
Great. I mean, that's exciting.
No, and we will surprise the audience in 2025. We'll surprise because God willing, we already made own crash for BAM Spirits. As you could see, we bring different companies, Georgian companies,
right.
But now it's going to be our first own made, like it's on a sticker. It's not going to be manufacturer, and a sticker is going to be BAM Spirit. It's coming in 2025.
BAM Spirit's producing its own wines, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, amazing. And anything interesting? Or
for me, it's very, very exciting and making me pride because BAM Spirit brought Chablis and Sincere, like with a sticker of BAM Spirit.
Right.
So now we're gonna have a Georgian wine with a sticker of BAM Spirit.
That's amazing. Wait, so what do you mean Chablis and Sincere? They brought to Georgia or brought where?
No, we brought from France.
Brought from France.
BAM Spirit has a very wide.
Yeah, I know.
You could ask Rabbi Yisroel, how about our Spanish, like Priorat appellation wines, like it's the
right. I'm looking right now. I actually didn't realize, like,
they're bringing in the Dalia Shomer and
right.
Yes, we're trying hard to please audience.
I see. There's
the best.
I'm looking at it as we speak. You know what I liked, by the way? I like that Tiamo. That Chianti, that called Tiamo, that band wine, that was very good. I thought, very fair price, good wine. And I see there's also.
I wanna ask you, what is your impression from Kinsmarauli if you taste it?
What's my impression of Kinsmarauli? I was surprised. I think like Rabbi Yisroel, I for the record, I think most people that probably listen to us are going to see semi-sweet on a label and immediately not taste it. Immediately think this is not for me.
Exactly.
But that's, as we always say, that's always a mistake anyway. Try everything.
No, I wouldn't say. I'm sorry, like to a little bit disagree, because if you're talking about any other wine, semi-sweet, I wouldn't touch. Okay.
Right. But that's why I say right. So you would be the same. Wine,
semi-sweet means state of art.
Right.
Okay, we're not talking about some brands who's trying to make shortcuts and etc.
Right.
But getting back to Kinsmarauli, you felt sensation when you just gave a first sip?
It's a big wine. It's a very big wine. I think it's very representative of Georgian wines in that way. They're big and bold wines. Would you say that?
Yeah. And they're also
I think the difference is that it's not just this sweet thing. You see that and you immediately are thinking, especially we all grew up with Manischewitz and that kind of stuff. You immediately think that kind of thing. But that is not what this is. It's a serious wine. It's a rich wine, it's a deep wine, it's a structured wine, and the sweetness is just one of the sensations. It's not what makes up the
Thank
wine.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just a different piece of it. It's a balanced, sweeter wine, but that's not just about sweet, and it's not as a lot of. I'll put it this way: those wines we're talking about, those traditional Kiddush wines, the sweetness was to mask bad grapes. That's why they were sweet. It was Concord grapes were bad grapes, and they were made that way so you could drink it. This happens to be sweet because it's the process. It's the same reason. I always have a hard time getting people to try, even something like port or something, like any other sweet type of wines. When they're made in a proper way, in a way that highlights the grape, it's not about the sweetness.
Rabbi Michoel came here just to hear you say that, Kenny.
I think it's good. It's good. It's good.
It's
I
a
like
mic drop now.
I like it. And to say this, so in 2025 we're bringing tzisi as so you tried Silakauri.
Yeah.
Tzisi, it's another Ajaria, like near the Kutaisi region, white wine, which is also very, very good. And so we're looking for.
I think it's amazing that in kosher wine that we have this kind of access. It's fascinating to me.
It's a very cool thing. I love the idea that I mean when you tell me about when you tell me about these wines, it's exciting. I think it's there's still so much room for so much growth in kosher wine, and I think it's a booming field. You read always about how the rest of the world is kind of like wine is slowing down. I don't see that in the kosher world at all. It happens to be, it's an intrinsic part of everything we do in the kosher world. It's part of every, from the bris to a chuppah to everything. There's always wine involved. And the fact that we're getting like wines from all over the world and these interesting grapes and well made too, then it's great. It's exciting.
And you know what, Rabbi Yisroel, what you just said is triggering me. I remember when I was a student of university in Moscow, when I started observing kashrus. So it was with idea. So all these things, they closed for me. Like I will never try it again. And here we are. We have a wide selection of all the Georgian wines.
Are you going there at all to oversee any of that, or you're just more on the North American side of things?
So, see, I have a project. Hopefully, we need to put some money together for that project to make a real qvevri from beginning to the end, 11 months process wine. And for that, hopefully this summer, I'm going to be in Georgia.
Because a big part of the qvevri, and I know I'm not saying that the right way because I don't have even though okay.
Don't worry, me either. To Georgian speak proper Russian, it's hard, and to Russian speak proper Georgian, also hard.
Right. Okay. So
we're in the same team.
So a big part of that is that it's made from the clay of the region. That gives it special. You can't duplicate that by making it elsewhere.
100%. And as I said, the gravel, what they putting there as a floor,
right,
that's what making whole difference.
So very appellation driven, so to speak, because you're really tasting the earth. Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
And also wine, as you know, like many people thinking I could do here or there, wine, grapes don't like to travel before they becoming a wine. Any grapes, it's universal. They don't like to travel. So yeah, and again, yeah, like all the white grapes, that's probably what was fascinating in the Tzelekauri. What you tried is the Georgian wine. It's about being a very bold for grape. Like you could feel a grape there with all fruitness, and like it's there. You don't need to search for many like sub tastes, like vanilla, strawberry. It's like a bold taste of grape as it is. This is a representation of the Georgian wine.
I mean, to me, I had the Separavi 22, and I felt like it was really young. Like it had a lot of space to age. Like it was not ready to drink.
Oh, thank you so much, Rabbi Yisroel. That's Sepiravi Hashmi.
Yes, the Chashmi.
That's the different village. That's the, how to say, high top of the Separavi, which is I agree with you. It's, they're the owners of the factory. They little bit too early put it in a bottle and put a sticker on, because Sepiravi Hashmi, what is unique in it, they basically taking the vine like where's the grapes, and they constantly cutting it, not letting it too much to be on the one vine. So that making a taste of the grape very, very intense, and you could see it in the wine. So in this type of wine, I would suggest to anyone to keep it at least 2 years on the shelf before you opening.
It's even more intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Saperavi is an intense grape. It's an interesting grape, and it's
But I think we send you the Separavi Hashmi, a heavy bottle, like heavy, massive bottle.
Is it so? Why is it in that heavy bottle?
To make it fancy. That's how
That's why, right?
They differentiating it by their, for example, they putting in this bottle only Kinzmarauli and Sepiravi Hashmi because it's high mark wines, which is it sells like for the bigger price their regular Sepiravi.
It's good to see, by the way, that I'm in Baltimore, Maryland. Baltimore doesn't get a great variety of wines, but those wines are all here, and if anyone's looking, they're in Kosher Bite. They're featured even. But and it's great to see that. I'm glad that a lot of people in Baltimore are trying them recently. People are asking me about them. Because what people do is, and I'm sure Rabbi Yisroel gets this, is that people go to the wine store and start sending pictures to me. How about this one? How about this one? So I get that a lot lately.
All the time.
So it's good. It's good. And now we need to add to that like the BAM Spirit wines, which is God willing, coming soon.
So it's being released this year, or they're making them this year?
So we opening it in April.
What do you mean by opening it?
So we start filtering and bottling.
Oh, okay. Okay, so then released maybe in a year or so.
So it's need to be brought in, through the sea, like it's probably will take a few months. Hopefully for Tishrei, we could have them in the stores. Hopefully.
I have
coming
to.
Tishrei?
Yes.
Oh, wow. It's exciting.
I have to run. I have a free a meeting, but it was really special. Thank you, Rabbi Michoel, for being with us. And
thank you so much. I hope I covered all to give you, how to say, understanding what does that mean, Georgian wine.
Yeah.
And as I said in the beginning, like in the poster, what we put as a Nox wine, and it's really sounds like this. I mean, like
Cool stuff. Thank you so much. I'm going to follow up with you. I have some questions.
Okay, thank you so much for having me.
We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, good Shabbos.
Shabbos.